Alex Caruso, Eric Gordon, Grayson Allen, Rudy Gobert. Why is Breezy listing out all these average NBA players? Because I don't like them. I have my reasons. And one of my favorite activities in all of sports gambling is betting on these mediocre talents to disappoint their teams, their fans, and probably their own mothers. With OddsShopper, have a least favorite player you want to bet on to be the below average bum they are? OddsShopper's positive EV bets identifies the plays and books most advantageous to maximizing your time laughing at the most annoying professional athlete you've never met and would probably fawn over if you did. If you use our link in the show notes when you register, give us a shout after you sign up and we'll personally help show you the ropes.
I'm going to tag all of those basketball players.
It's a great double tag Alex Caruso, please.
Double
Yeah,
tag.
we really hate you, Alex Caruso. But if I met you, I'd probably be like, hey, Alex, how's it going?
Hey, bald guy, what's up, bud?
Yeah, good to meet you, man.
We can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch. Oh yeah, so easily
We
affected.
have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove it.
And any time that we were on the green and anything with inside 30 feet, he was just magical with his putter. And if the ball was tracking towards the hole, he would just yell out, "Yo, mama."
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good JuJu.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good JuJu, where March is here and Breezy's gambling again. Paying money for plays, tailing free Twitter touts, pretending he's suddenly sharp. It's madness. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that and more to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Give us a follow at Good JuJu Bets on X, where we are a sports, not a sports betting account.
Air quotes.
Wink, wink. This week on the show, we're being joined by Billy Collins. He's a sports bettor that makes quality video content we want to learn more about. You can find Billy on Twitter at YoMama2431 or via his YouTube page at BillyC24. But before we get to Billy, the Super Bowl ended, and as a result, we find ourselves diving into a whole lot of weird bets. So let's talk about that. You guys want to talk about that?
Sure.
Let's talk about sports betting.
You sound unenthused. You wish we'd go back to last week and just talk about trips to casinos?
I do like casinos.
You really do want to talk about that today, don't you? Yeah. All right. So the last couple of weeks are a bit of a notorious time on the sports calendar. Super Bowl hangover. Everyone goes back to a world without football. And if you're spending time following gambling Twitter or VSiN or any particular form of sports gambling media, you might have noticed an uptick in offbeat wagers, emphasis on futures, and in general, kind of a more relaxed take on the industry in recent weeks. We certainly noticed that, and it has been reflected in my betting in particular. So let's talk through some of the different markets we're having fun with in the last couple of weeks. The NBA.
Yeah, good.
Because this is a bet that RJ won't stop talking about.
Yeah, I heard all about it.
So we need to get into this. Paulie Howard and Mitch Moss. They had a segment on VSiN the other day, and they were talking about the odds of the Wizards to not win another NBA game.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do? I immediately go, that sounds like a great idea. It's what? 200 to 1? How many games are left? Turns out I didn't even know. I thought there were 18 left, and RJ's like, no, there was like 22 still to go. So we went ahead and we bet the Wizards to not win another game at 200 to 1. However, that wasn't enough for RJ. RJ had to parlay it with 2 money line wagers and then add a boost to it to over
300 to 1.
300 to
Yeah,
1.
I took Texas Houston Abilene Christian Bible School to win, and they covered by 14 points, and something in the Appalachian Mountains, and they also won as well. So here I am sitting pretty with my third leg being the Wizards to lose outright.
Did you literally just look to see what the longest odds.
Do you think I did something other than that?
So you just went and found the 2 shortest odds you possibly could and
Yes,
bet
indeed.
those so that you could use a parlay. There was no minimum leg requirement on that boost. That's awesome.
Always read the terms and conditions, children.
That is awesome. Are you betting anything in particular in NBA, Kurt?
No, nothing that crazy.
Just betting futures outrights?
Yeah, just using free bets on Celtics at 2-1. No big deal.
So we have thousands of dollars coming, and it was a sweat tonight when the Wizards don't win any more games, and they almost won tonight. But yes, we have thousands of dollars coming. Did you happen to look and see when the last game was?
When?
Sunday, 12 o'clock against the Celtics in the Garden. Mike Gorman's last game he's going to call.
You're saying that if we're going to make $1,000 or whatever, $2,000 on this, you want to spend all that money to go to the game?
Possibly.
That's not a bad idea.
I've had worse ones.
If we're going to go to a game out of the Garden, let's not make it a meaningless end of the season, regular
everybody's
season
sitting.
against the Wizards.
Yeah, we got to just celebrate Mike Gorman that day and generously hedge out of the bet if the Wizards will lose the next 20 games.
Can we give a shout out to Kurt, by the way? Kurt
Absolutely.
gave out 2 future wagers for the NBA on this show before the season.
Oh,
He gave out DeMontis Sabonis over 7 assists per game. He's at 8.4 assists per game.
wow.
Cash.
Clutch.
That is a complete cash. And he has Alperen Şengün over 9.0 rebounds per game. He's at 9.2
Wow.
right now,
Okay.
which I'm pretty sure that's pretty safe at this point.
Yeah,
in the
it's a
season, right?
cash, yeah.
That's a cash. So thank you. Those are I played both those and
Nice.
told you.
Nice.
You're welcome.
And you're going to be doing this for MLB again, right?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm going to be
okay.
releasing my my future plays for all season long.
So let's talk about some of that. So anything else in NBA? We've got the Wizards that we're betting 200-1 to not win another game. We've got some tickets on the Celtics.
Yeah.
We're bringing in some futures from the end of the year that Kurt gave out at the start. Is there anything silly, anything weird, anything funny that you see out there that we should consider betting when it comes to NBA player props or NBA futures or anything?
I can't think of anything sillier than betting on a team to lose the rest of their games.
Okay.
That is pretty silly.
So we've got one ridiculous wager in. We're having fun with that. Now, on the MLB side of thing, is anyone having any fun with this? So we're going to do a full rundown of Kurt's wagers before the season starts because
Okay.
we like to do that. What are you looking at right now today? Is there anything that you want to give out that I can bet for the MLB during the slow time?
Yeah, you want a weird one? It's a middle. It's a great middle. It's one of the best middles I think I've found in the last couple of years.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
But last year I gave out Pete Alonso plus 5 home runs in a head-to-head matchup versus Judge for the entire year. That was plus money, and that cashed with ease.
Okay.
That wasn't even close. I mean, Judge got hurt, which helped a lot, but Alonso smacked like 40-something bombs. It wasn't even close.
He's pretty good.
He is pretty good at hitting baseballs a long way. This year, I have got a pitcher prop middle for Freddie Peralta. So he is over 165 and a half strikeouts on Combi books, and he is under 195 and a half strikeouts on DK.
30.
So that is a 30 strikeout middle. I have not seen that in my going on 3 years of betting baseball.
Huh.
Usually the strikeout differences between books are less than 10.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
like you can find maybe a guy that's like 209 and a half, 201 and a half
Yeah, I
middle,
gotcha.
right? This is a 30K strikeout middle. And just to do a little, research, I looked at all the projections from pretty much everything from Cardi to some of the other projection models on Fangraphs, and they all have Peralta between 170 and 190.
So unload.
So I've got a unit on the over 165 and a half and a unit on the under 195 and a half.
All right.
To try to go double up.
Do you know if that's there today?
It was there last week. Peralta is now 171 and a half and 194 and a half on that middle.
Is that still good middle?
That's a good middle. I mean, it's
24.
24 strikeouts. When I gave it out on my Twitter, which I gave out 5 plays on Twitter 2 weeks ago, those were the lines, the 195 and 165 and a half.
I
I
like
also
it.
put some RBI totals on there too for middles.
I mean, you were still saying the projections all fall somewhere between 170 and 190. So I'll dip on 171. In addition to that, I have one wager. Kurt, did you not bet Cubs under 85.5?
I did not. So I made a tweet that I was going to bet Cubs under 85.5 unless they signed Bellinger or Snell. So once the Belly news came out,
Got it.
I scrapped the under 85 and a half,
Okay.
found an 83 and a half, and took the 83 and a half
Over.
So you're on the Cubs over. You're not on their under.
Correct. I was going to bet their under if they didn't sign either of those two.
Yeah.
But I saw a tweet from Cardi who put out his projections, and he was like, slow your roll on some of these teams because we still have Bellinger and Snell still out there. So that's what I did. I didn't bet any team total overs or unders for any teams that had a chance to sign either of those guys.
Gotcha.
Well, I also bet the Cubs over. And I went to bet it at 83.5, saw it, forgot about it, went to look the next morning and it was 84.5. I still bet it at over 84.5. It was 10 points better, so at least I got a little something there. Why did I do this? Joe Sheehan was on VSiN talking about betting into baseball futures. And he had a really interesting conversation that I thought was worth sharing. He talked about looking at it from the angle of teams that can potentially, that should be buyers throughout the course of the season and targeting their win totals based on their potential to add throughout the season.
Oh, neat.
And he specifically identified the Cubs as an ideal team in this range, having just hired a new manager, having a pretty solid base, but still room to grow, with a bankroll or with a budget that they hadn't yet fully exercised the way some thought they would in the offseason.
Yeah.
And it's a real opportunity if you can identify the teams you think will spend throughout the season and buy on them now, because that's going to impact their win totals.
Got it. I like it.
I'm on the Cubs as well.
Neat
On
angle.
the over. All right.
None for me.
You're not going to tail? You're not going to tail either of those?
I can't.
I mean, you know what? I like Joe was it Sheehan?
Yeah, you're not going to tail. You're not going to throw a little scratch on their Cubbies?
I hate the Cubs.
I know. It'll make you cheer for them.
Will make me cheer for them.
I like his thought process, though.
So do I. I think it's
to
fascinating.
target teams that are going to be looking to make some moves at the deadline. That's a great idea. And the Cubs are one of those teams. They've got tons of prospects.
Yeah, I might do it. I don't know. It's such a pain in the ass last year. Trying to pay attention to a team all year.
You were fine betting on a team to lose 22 consecutive games, but you have questions over betting a team to just win more games than projected.
Yeah.
Also, your favorite team.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to get him to bet it. The only
That's
reason I care
ridiculous.
that he bets it is that so he goes back to being a Cubs fan with me.
Have you guys seen the renderings of that new athletic stadium?
Dude, those do look cool.
It's going to be neat.
That stadium, is that a digital scoreboard just like on the wall?
Right. It's like a reverse sphere.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool.
I definitely thought when I saw the scoreboard inside that stadium, I go, oh, they're going for like a sphere effect there, aren't they?
That's going to be neat. They're going to have some good Jerry Garcia concerts in there.
Someone posted the renderings of that on Twitter and was like, what are baseball stadiums coming to? And it's like, yeah, that doesn't look like any other baseball stadium, but that is still a sick facility.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
going to be so
Have you been to US? It's not US Cellular Field anymore. What's the new name?
Yeah,
Garbage
down
park.
rate.
Yeah.
Down rate.
You've been to US Cellular?
Guaranteed rate.
God. Guaranteed rate. Is
Yeah.
that what it is?
Yeah,
No,
guaranteed rate. Guaranteed rate, yeah.
And it's for White Sox?
And it's got the arrow going down, yeah.
Oh,
It will be the
what
new
a joke of a ballpark.
It will be the new worst stadium in Major League Baseball when Oakland.
Oh.
It sure will.
Yep.
Well, now that that's the case, I'm going to go visit it someday. You want to do that before we go play high-low poker or whatever?
Yeah.
For the record, I like Oakland Stadium better than the Sox.
That's sad.
That's just because the Sox just waste. They're just a waste. They could do so much more on there. Whatever. We're not doing that. We're doing this. We're talking about long shot bets that we're placing around
Long shots.
different industries of sports. Let's talk NFL, guys.
All right.
Because this is one that's coming up soon here. First of all, let's close off some loops. Our boy George Panagakis was bragging on the episode a couple weeks ago about having this Fields to the Jets bet. So I tailed. I have no idea where Justin Fields is going to go. George, I love you. I don't actually think you know where Justin Fields is going to go either. But it's fun, you know?
That is fun.
It's a really long wager. I think it's like 70-1 or something like that.
Was it really?
I don't
Wow.
remember.
That's pretty
Don't
good.
quote me. But yeah, it sounded like fun. And it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to bet on the Steelers? No, I wouldn't bet on anything. So
Right.
I see
Every
someone who's
day.
like, here we go.
Every day it's a new rumor where he's going. So
Right.
why the hell not pick somebody that's crazy?
Honestly, I thinking about it, I like his thought process
I might bet on this
because
one.
they're trying to get rid of Zach Wilson,
Absolutely.
and Rodgers has no backup. He's
Yeah.
40 years old. What a perfect opportunity to have him go sit behind Rodgers for a year.
I
I don't hate it.
No, I love it. I love it. I'm just thinking about Aaron Rodgers running out of the field with that flag and immediately tearing his Achilles or whatever.
And then in comes Justin Fields.
Boom.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, guys.
I'm gonna
I
look
just
this up.
know that it's 70-1. I
I'm
was like,
looking it
yeah,
up now.
let's have some fun with
I'm
this.
going to pair it with the Houston Christ Lutheran Baptist Sellers money line.
What about the combine? Did anyone bet on the combine at all?
No.
Is that a thing? Can you bet on
Okay.
it?
So let's get into this. Eric Froton. You guys know who he is?
No.
He is an NBC sports reporter and writer. Writes for the NFL. He drops
Okay.
posts with bets and stuff like that. Got named Reporter of the Year, according to some publication just recently. Seems like a pretty reasonable guy, so I followed him on Twitter. He was at the combine giving out bets, and he was banging them. He had some dude underneath 4.49 seconds, and the dude ran like a 4.32 or something like that.
Oh,
Crazy.
their actual time?
Yeah.
I'm like, what would you even bet on?
So
Okay.
I tried to bet on this. He was on there bragging about his last bet, giving out plays that look fun to follow. I spent about an hour trying to find Jalen Wright over 4.32 seconds, and I couldn't find it on legals. He went 4.38. He nailed another one.
Wow.
So I looked on every single book. I couldn't find it. What I was able to find,
Uh-huh.
who would be the fastest wide receiver? Who would be the fastest running back? I thought about dipping my toes into that Xavier Worthy. Little mad at myself I didn't. But I'm pretty positive I would not have bet Isaac Guerrero to be the fastest running back.
And he was.
Yeah,
But-
I don't know who that is. So I probably wouldn't have bet on him.
Is that the guy who ran a 4.21 or whatever?
Right. Because my thought process was, okay, Jalen Wright was the favorite to run the fastest time among the RBs.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, well, if he's on the over there, maybe I'll grab someone else. But then I started looking across all of them, and it was like, I don't know which one of these guys to pick.
Yeah.
So I was never going to necessarily get it right. So I probably saved money on that, but I should have bet on Xavier Worthy. But I just thought it was funny. We can bet on the combine.
But you did find it?
There are markets I can bet on,
Oh,
like
neat.
fastest running back, fastest wide receiver.
Okay.
There were head-to-heads I could bet. So like two offensive linemen, I could bet their 40 time against each other. Same with there were a couple quarterbacks. I could bet their 40 time against each other
And now I want to go. I want to go to the thing and bet on this
and
stuff.
bet on it.
Yeah.
That would definitely be the way to do this. It's in Indy.
I know.
Is it in Indy every year?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Oh my goodness. We
I
do
think
need
Connor
to go
went.
that.
Connor went, I think. Yeah. Shout
Well,
out Connor Allen.
That's a fun drive. So maybe next year
Slippery noodle for lunch.
how do we get ourselves press passes for that?
We just
Hmm.
ask for him.
Can anyone go to the combine?
I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure you can.
I'm pretty sure they would.
No.
You don't think so?
They got coaches in the stand and stuff
Is
like
the
that.
combine open to the public? Yes or no?
Survey says
We need media passes.
we need.
That's
media.
what we
need
need.
media passes.
That's what we need. That's what we need.
All
Okay.
right. So talk to Connor. See if you can get us in.
All right. But neither of those events we just talked about, next season's wagers, combine wagers, are as big as what's become one of the bigger NFL betting events of the year.
Okay.
And that's the NFL draft.
Ah, yes.
Does anyone have anything yet?
Curtis does.
Old Jolly St. Vic told
Jolly
me a
St.
guy that was going to go maybe first. Ben probably isn't, but I bet on him.
Yeah, so I took Jaden Daniels to go number 1 overall for plus 25.
25 to 1, yeah.
25 to 1.
So I'm in on that. I'm in on that. That's the only one. But I am currently...
That's definitely a better bet than Caitlin Clark getting drafted number 1 overall in the NBA draft.
It is.
But it's not that much better, Kurt. Jaden, if the Bears do this, I will just jump off a bridge. You have to go with the player who's been for 3 years the guy who's supposed to be the guy.
Yeah.
I just don't trust that someone's going to go, oh, well, look at his 40 time here. Never mind. Let's pick someone else.
Well, it's all about if it gets traded, right?
It's not getting traded. We're taking Caleb Williams. It's over.
It's over.
All right. So you bet that too. What else did you bet? Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. So you are betting that the Bears don't draft Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And you tailed him. But you won't tail the Cubs win total.
No way. It's an even money bet, but I am in at 100 to 1 on Justin Fields playing for the Jets next year.
Okay.
It's 100 to 1 now? I'm in. What book?
DraftKings. Shout out DraftKings.
It might be 100 to 1 that I got on that. I don't know.
That's fine.
Anyways, doesn't matter.
I don't care, man.
I have a question for you, Kurt. On mic, I intentionally did not look. Do you want to blindly bet JJ McCarthy's draft position over with me?
Yeah, where's it at?
I don't know. I just said I didn't look.
He's going to go in the first round. So if we can get it at a good number. Wait, over?
No, I'm saying blindly bet it. We
Over
blindly
It's always
say
weird on draft picks.
he's not as good a quarterback as people think, and he's going to drop.
So draft higher.
Just because we sat around making fun of JJ McCarthy all season.
You want me to look it up right now for the sake of the conversation?
Yeah, I think he's going to go. I can't blind tail you there, bud.
Do you think he's going to get drafted?
I'm blindly doing it. Did you just ask if JJ McCarthy is going to get drafted?
You think he's going to get drafted high?
I do, yeah.
I just
I
want
don't
to
even know what
blindly
this is.
bet he does not get drafted at his position because he doesn't deserve to be.
Oh, yeah. They don't have markets for these out yet.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
It's just the number, right?
You can bet his draft position over under.
Oh, okay. I'll keep looking then.
No, or not.
Or
It's
not.
fine.
Yeah. We're done. We're done with that bit. Okay.
So you've bet nothing on the NFL draft?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
That's
Yeah.
not bad. Okay.
You know how this goes. It's like 7 days before, and it's like, bring a porta potty to your desk because you got to read Twitter 24 hours a day.
And everything that's on Twitter is already moved.
Yeah. Exactly. What am I going
Two.
to drive to Chicago?
Wait till Jaden Daniels ends up being like plus 250 to
Yeah.
go number 1 overall.
Exactly.
Are we going to pay for information this year for the NFL draft? We did last
Did we
year.
do well last year?
It was okay.
It was okay. I think we made a couple units.
It's that or baseball.
I mean, we can see what's
Did
out
we,
there.
pay, did we pay somebody?
If we've learned, and yeah, we paid Connor.
Oh, shout out Kyle.
If we've learned anything, it's that the NFL draft you should be betting into based solely on information because there is information you can get before the books move.
Bingo.
But
Yep.
you have to pay for it.
Yep.
So,
All right,
if
I'm in.
if you're trying to get it off Twitter, it's probably not out there. All right, that's enough about the NFL. Let's go into NCAA basketball. What are some ridiculous bets we're doing there? Okay, guys, college basketball. There are all kinds of ways you can bet into college basketball markets right now. You may be looking at NCAA champions, teams to make the Final Four, even conference tourney winners at this point. Fun fact, conference tournaments started on Monday. I had already lost a wager on a conference tournament future by Tuesday. It was one of the very first
They
games
lost the first game?
of the entire conference tournament. Eastern Kentucky,
Oh.
you were plus 150 to win the entire tournament. And you lost to the worst team in that tournament. I don't think
Whoops.
that was a great start for me.
Who'd they play?
I don't know.
Who cares?
I just saw that they lost to a bad team. because they're the 1 seed. And whoever they were playing was the last team in.
Lost to the play-in team.
In addition to this, I also bet on a team to not make the tournament. And you want to know what's so funny about that, Kurt? It's one of the teams I picked to win it all.
You didn't really pick them to win it
Okay,
all.
yes.
You just bet on them to win
So
it
this
all.
was my emotional hedge.
New Mexico?
I had grabbed New Mexico to win it all at some point when they were hot, just so I'd have the ticket. No, I didn't think they'd win. No, there's nothing telling me to bet on them at the time. It was purely an emotional hedge. And since then, they've played very poorly, including a loss at home to a team that they could not afford a loss to, followed up by another loss on the road. They have 1 game left with Utah State.
Mhm.
And if they lose this game with Utah State, they're going to have to win. They're in the last 4 in right now. They're going to have to win the conference tournament to get in. There are 6 teams right now in the Mountain West Conference ranked in Bart Torvik between 26 and 51.
Wow.
They basically got a 1-6 shot. Their odds right now to win the tournament are plus 350, but we were getting them 2 days ago to miss the tournament at plus 200.
Ah, so there you go.
So plus 350 to win the tournament. I would not bet that. I would not be betting New Mexico plus. They look terrible right now. Everything about them looks wrong. They're right on the bubble. They're playing poorly. If they don't win the tournament, they're not getting in. And their odds of winning the tournament aren't very good. So at 2-1 to miss the tournament, I was like, let's fire. It has dropped to plus 120. I would bet this.
Sharp.
I would bet this at plus 120 right now. I don't think New Mexico's making the tournament. I don't think they're going to beat Utah State on the road.
They're going to be a favorite?
No. Utah State's ranked.
Huh.
And then if they don't beat Utah State, they're going to have to run the table to get in.
Which they won't do.
They're out of the 6 teams ranked 26 to 51 in that conference. They're probably in the worst form out of all of them.
This one's zany and it's a plus 120, but I might bet it.
Yeah, I would recommend this. This is the one bet on here that I'm like, yeah, you know what? I know a little bit about them, and they are chokers, and they have not made it to the tournament in a while, and I'm mad at them.
Yeah.
And now I'm not getting emotional. This is purely analytical.
Yeah. I mean, I might bet that one. Plus, it will resolve quickly.
Yeah. So this actually, I got to give credit here to Paulie Howard on this one.
This one too?
Paulie Howard was like, he's the one who said they're still 2-1 to miss the tournament. That's not right. So I was like, all right, let's do it.
Shout out Beeson.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would recommend it, but it also feels bad inside. So whatever.
Doesn't feel bad to me.
One other quick shout for people who are looking for wagers throughout the month of March. I did it. I plunged into shot quality bets. You guys have heard me mention this before on the podcast. We've all tailed them, but I subscribed to their service for the month of March. It cost me $80 to do it. So quick update here. I'm doing nothing but playing their best bets tab. I'm 22-18 plus 2 units, 4% ROI so far.
All right.
It's a fun, brainless way to keep up with college basketball this month, you know? So if it goes well, I'm going to research them for next season because I was really happy with them throughout the course of the year. Their logic behind their plays, the plays they gave out. I'm going to consider them.
They got like a model, right?
They have a model. They also have a ton of data you can play with. They got a lot of information on the site.
Neat.
I'm going to check it out for the tournament.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the one other thing that kind of from an NCAA perspective. And then let's wrap this up with just a couple other things here that I wanted to cover.
All right.
Other fun bets. First of all, I want to shout out the ladies. Betting women surfing is fun. They're out.
Did you do this again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I bet them a few times.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a betting group out there called Next Bets that give out plays on women's surfing heats.
Oh my gosh. So you found a tout.
I found a tout. My bet did not hit. It was a ton of fun watching, but I cannot speak to the authenticity of that group because it was a quick Google search, click the button. It wasn't even the bet. They had this chick going far, so I bet her to win her heat, and she didn't.
You're unbelievable.
Yeah.
You have all the you have all this data in front of your computer, and you're typing in Google women's surfing and finding the first person that throws out a play.
Women surfing touts. Not just what it is.
I know we have odd shopper guys.
No.
but I'm telling you, these guys know women's surfing.
Best bets.
I put in the Hurley Beach Professional Pro Tour picks and predictions or whatever into the Google search.
Oh, man.
That's what it returned.
That reminds me of when we were betting on Turkish soccer in the middle of the day.
But that's soccer. I am telling you guys, this is fun.
Okay.
Watching
All right.
surfing is fun. They sit out there and they've got like 20 minutes. So it's a 20-minute thing. You sit there and you watch them and they get to take turns. And then if they screw up, someone else gets to cut them. And so they're always doing all this stuff.
Well, I want to see a live stream of you breaking down a match. Are they matches? Races?
Heats.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna be
how do you win?
Is it just
a
a judging
freaking
thing?
surfing heat?
Right. So you catch a wave, and then when you catch the wave, you try to ride that wave as best you can, do tricks on it,
So
ride
it's
it
judging.
in, do whatever, and then you get a score. And then you go back out, and then you keep picking up waves. But you can catch 3-4 waves during that 20 minutes or whatever.
Is this on every book?
No.
Yeah, what
it's
book is this?
only on Bet Rivers.
Ah,
It is
Of course.
only on Bet Rivers.
of course.
Of course
Shout
it's
out-
on Bet
Shout
Rivers.
out Bet Rivers.
Yeah.
Future sponsor of the show.
It might be on others. It depends on, I don't know.
Sure.
Because it was that one day it was on Bet Rivers.
Well, I don't expect you to know the whole market yet.
Right.
Soon.
So I do recommend it. I don't know it's profitable, but it feels like it could be exploitable if you have a thorough understanding of wave conditions.
Which is definitely our listener base.
If anyone's got an angle on pro women's surfing
Yeah.
by judging wind conditions the way Golden Pants judges weather conditions for golf,
Give us a shout at Good JuJu Bets.
give us a shout. We'd love to. We've got weight. We'll give you your weight. We'd like to get into that. I've already talked to RJ
Oh my
about
God.
this. I don't want to be originator anymore. I want to be the person who has the weight for the originator.
What does that mean?
Well, so Sharp Clark was on last week with us, right?
Yeah.
And what did he say? He said halfway through the season, someone reached out and was like, "Hey, we want to, bet your plays and put weight behind them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We know what we're doing. We'll get the action down, and you give us the plays."
All right. So, Mom, I'm gonna need you to cash out that 401k that you got.
Exactly.
We're not moving you into Bueller Home.
Third mortgage.
We're gonna sell the house and we're gonna give it all to Pete to play women's surfing heats on Bet Rivers.
Sounds like a great idea. Wonder what the limits are on that. Hey,
First, we need to find the originator for us to give weight behind.
look
I'm just
up.
going to keep calling it weight. We're
Yeah.
going to put weight
What
behind
are we,
it.
drug dealers?
I'm just saying we got weight. If
Would
there's
you-
anyone out there.
Next time you're doing this, just see how many zeros you can put on your bet. See what they would take
Yeah, we've done that before.
on this market.
Oh, on this market.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right. Before I get excited and write a check, I just want to know what our action's going to be.
I also bet on Caitlin.
You've been limited to $3.24.
God, DraftKings only took $5 on that 100-1 on Justin Fields.
All right. I also bet on Caitlin Clark Senior Day.
Of course. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. You know what? I
Cash.
watched, the reason I bet on Caitlin Clark's Senior Day was because it was morning and
Yeah.
the kids were hanging out and they were watching SportsCenter.
Did you bet on
And it
it?
was on for like 2 hours and they talked nonstop about Caitlin Clark Senior Day. And so they got to the end of it and I was like, well, I got to bet on it now.
Right. I've got all this analysis in my head.
So I took Iowa to cover against the spread.
Oh, you didn't bet like how she was going to get the
No,
point?
I don't care about any of that.
Okay.
I just bet on the game so I could watch her on Senior Day. Ironically, that was the second women's basketball game of the weekend, and that was the highest level of women's basketball that I watched this weekend. I also watched state champion Peoria Notre Dame women's basketball.
Oh, shout out the Irish.
Yeah, shout out the Irish.
So fun fact. Apparently, I didn't fact check this, but somebody told it to me in passing. Brian Wardle's got 2 daughters on that team.
Yes,
Oh,
the seniors going
yeah,
somewhere.
She's a 2-time all.
Dude,
Yeah. And then the freshman.
The freshman's the one who balled out in the championship game and hit the game-winning shot.
She's apparently better than her older sister.
For those who are wondering, this is Bradley University's head
gonna be
basketball coach.
Yeah.
Their daughters just won a state. His daughters.
And he's still under contract for 2 or 3 years, so she might be around a while.
Yeah. Kurt, let's wrap this up. What was that bet you just told us about that your friends were wagering on?
Yeah, so I got a bunch of clowns in my my group chat.
Not us.
Not these
Not these clowns.
Not these clowns.
Different for different reasons.
Different rodeo clowns. The ones with the makeup. They thought it would be a good idea to take Caitlin Clark to go number 1 in the NBA draft.
What? Who offered it?
I think
Shame.
I don't know the book. I don't know the book, but Jay ended up Jay's ended up placing the bets for all these guys.
It ain't so, Jay.
I think everybody bet $2.50, and it's like 25,000 to 1.
Jesus.
What was it? I don't even know what it was.
2,500 to 1. I don't know.
Was it 2,500 to 1?
I don't know. That doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah.
No matter what the number is, RJ, it's not enough.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It could be 2.5 million to 1.
Does it void if she doesn't declare?
Oh, that's a great question.
Then you get your $2 back.
If it voids, if it doesn't declare, then that's a fine bet to place. But still not.
No, still not.
Because I'm pretty sure
It's not. They're not going to avoid that.
I'm
Why would
pretty
they?
sure Caitlin Clark's not going number 1 overall in the NBA draft.
I don't think she's going to declare for the NBA draft. She's already declared for the WNBA draft, and she'll go number 1 there. But this is strictly for the NBA.
If
Wait a
Caitlin
minute.
Clark declared for the NBA draft, would she get drafted?
No,
Could Caitlin Clark make an NBA roster?
no.
This is absolute. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think so either, because I think if she could, I don't know. She's a sniper. She doesn't have the size.
Right.
No kidding.
But like, neither does Steph Curry.
Yeah, he probably weighs about 50 pounds more than her. And he's 6'3".
I don't know.
I don't know how tall she is. But talk about bets to get down to prove you're square as hell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what a great idea.
I'm going to bet on this.
Got to clean up the health of that book. Let me put 20 on Caitlin Clark to be the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. They'll look at me and they'll be like, dude,
Green light.
gold mine. Keep it open as long as we can.
That'll do it for us, folks. Stay tuned for our conversation with Billy Collins. Good juju to your bets. We'll talk again soon. We welcome into the show Billy Collins. Billy has created a strong social media presence via profitable sports betting and high-quality videos. You can get all of his content on YouTube at BillyC24. Welcome into the show, Billy. How you doing?
Boys, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope you guys are having an awesome day.
We're actually getting better. The conversation we were having before you hopped onto the interview, that's only for our Patreon subscribers.
All 0 of them.
Once we get a Patreon,
Thankfully.
we're going to have content like that. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Can you give us a quick rundown here? What got you into the world of sports gambling?
Sure. So growing up, I was into sports gambling because naturally, like so many males in high school thinking I watch a lot of sports, I could make money off of my knowledge. I know Steeler football. I'm from Pittsburgh originally. So that's what got me into it. My whole life, I found out that nobody, at least where I grew up in a small town of Western Pennsylvania, could really make money sports betting. And then about September of 2021, when I moved to Arizona and found Odds Jam, it was like I unlocked the holy grail and was like, wait a minute, I could, like, is this possible? Is it real? So then I've always had that affinity for sports betting, that itch that always needed scratched, but it became a reality in the fall of 2021.
So you've been top down betting for 3 years now?
Yeah, and I'm literally someone that knew nothing about Odds Jam, their tools, what plus EV betting was, or YouTube, any of that stuff, and started just day by day accumulating information, finding, trial and error, what worked and what didn't work, and still figuring out like so many of us, but here I am.
Yeah, it's a process.
So this is great. Similar to you, we are primarily top-down bettors using an odds screener. You've been doing this now for 3 years. Are there any tips or advice just in general use of odds screeners that you could offer up in terms of, like, for us, we're about 6 months in to really using one. Any tips or advice for us?
Sure. So I'll try to keep it condensed because I could really get off the rails. Basically, in the beginning, everyone starts out just first off, it's almost too good to be true when you see things on social media. So you naturally yourself are tired of losing, or you see people making money and you're like, I want to make money. And then that's kind of like level one, in my opinion, is first off figuring out if it's clearing the BS from what's real and what's not, getting a strategy down. And then once you kind of start to make money, you kind of find out in level two the importance of account health and longevity of playing because then you kind of find out, well, wait a minute, that Rivers only let me do this for like 3 months and now I can't bet anymore. Like, this stinks. Like, what's this? So I feel like level two, you start to try to figure out ways to get creative almost to appear like a casual sports bettor so that you can keep the game going for as long as possible. Or you just have to get married 3 times and use your wife's account every time to do that. And that's a song for another time.
I have a follow-up question because I'm kind of in that realm right now where actually we're all pretty much have gotten to that realm right now where we're worried about being limited. What things did you do to kind of help your account health?
Sure. So I could tell you things that you shouldn't do because I definitely ruined some relationships with sports books. I'm currently literally today listening to the Golden Pants interview again from Mr. Limited. Seems like a very, intelligent individual that has some help, because the kind of curt answer is, and not to use your name, Kurt, but it's the curt answer is you just lose and you'll play for as long as you want. But there seems to be ways of warming up your account. In terms of, maybe there's no definitive answer in terms of how long you should do this or how many bets you should place, but you open up that brand new account, maybe let's put a parlay down, or let's make some wagers right before game time to appear like a novice sports bettor. But the problem is, in my opinion, over the course of time, the sports books see your account history. They're going to see you're making sharp plays and you're beating the closing line value. And whether you make money or not, that's going to hurt you. And at the end of the day, you're going to find out that the major players in terms of recreational sports books like DraftKings, FanDuel, and Caesars, they'll be your lifelong friends. And the books like ESPN Bet or Bet Rivers or Ballybet, they're kind of like your high school friends, and then they just disappear after like a year or two.
Have you managed to maintain like your base accounts with sports books for the course of 3 years?
The main guys. I've had to get creative and find some offshore books, but the main ones like DraftKings, FanDuel, and Caesars. It's kind of known that FanDuel is one of the savvier books in they take the sharp action to use it as research and information to help, create more accurate lines. Whereas anyone that's associated with Canby, they basically just if you're profitable, they just kick you off in like a month or 2 months. But I've definitely went about things the wrong way. Starting off arbitrage betting and just putting down $600 on one player prop bet on one side and $300 on the other side, and super excited. I just made like $40 risk-free profit. Yeah. And then you find out like a month later that BetMGM doesn't really like when you do that.
Yeah, me and ESPN just broke up last week.
Yeah, exactly.
So you found OddsJam then about 3 years ago, and that's kind of been your entrance into the sports betting profitability realm. What then led you into the decision to making the videos that we now see you putting out there, which I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast or not, but we're big fans of. They're really, really well done. And kind of what's the background behind you getting into that part of it?
So the basis is that I was receiving emails, like if anyone that has signed up with OddsJam once or receives their emails, and they are quite aggressive with their marketing, that hey, we're looking for part-time content creators or full-time content creators. And then I had this idea in my head, like, oh man, maybe like I could get a discount on their tools and not have to pay full price. And so essentially, I started off, actually, funny enough, today is my 1-year anniversary on YouTube. And I started out from just opening the app and knowing how to play a video to going down that path. And so the whole basis for me in the beginning was just to get a discount, or maybe I could get the tools at OddsJam for free.
Yeah.
And then I kind of found, I mean, always knew I had some personality, didn't mind talking, but I just thought about guys like me that when they first discover OddsJam, like, wouldn't it be lovely to have someone that maybe could share and create content for the beginning sports bettor if you're just starting out? And so that's basically what then the angle kind of became for me, is creating content to hopefully help someone out there, because we're all at times doing this alone.
Yeah.
And it's a scary feeling. And, luckily for me, as I'm divorced and I don't have a significant other, I can be a little more risky and loose with my cash. But I can only imagine if you have a girlfriend or a wife and she's like, how do we do tonight? And you're like, we lost $30. And then to you, like, $30 is nothing, but she's like, $30? Are you kidding me? Like, shut this down.
Shut it down.
Just shut it down. So it took some time. So yeah, that's kind of what the whole goal end game was just to try to help people out there so they don't feel that they're alone in this journey, and that they can learn from maybe my mistakes and get a leg up when they get started.
I love that.
You going to hit the button?
Okay, 2 things. First of all, you said it was your 1-year anniversary today.
Yeah. Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
Okay.
it actually was. Yep.
Let's see if I do this right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the crowd.
Congratulations, Billy. Good job. Way to make it to 1 year. Second part of that. Okay. So did you have no background in video production of your own prior to doing this?
Billy, that's
Knew nothing.
inspiring.
I didn't. Thank you. Yeah, I knew no one back home in the small town, like in Western Pennsylvania, that I knew was a YouTuber or a famous Instagram person or TikTok. I knew nothing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of free time on my hands, so I just sat there and watched YouTube videos about YouTube, and slowly, day after day, figured out lighting and the settings on a camera, and different. So when you watch my beginning videos, which I would not recommend because they look like a 3rd grader made them, I've slowly learned how to kind of level up over time. And now I could fully say I'm more obsessed with YouTube than I am sports betting, which is quite the statement.
Oh, that was one of our questions.
Yeah, let me ask that now. All right. So would you say you spend more time making YouTubes now than sports betting?
Yes, or at least spend way more time thinking about how to improve or to research things than sports betting. And that's kind of ties into sports betting in a way, in terms of, we talk about your account health and getting limited. I know that I can't retire and become a professional sports bettor unless I move to like the Philippines and make 40 grand a year and just live that kind of lifestyle. So I knew that if I wanted to leave the 9-to-5 corporate America system, that YouTube would be a better path and gateway for me than sports betting over the course of the long term, like 2, 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to people
what you guys are doing with your podcast,
Yeah.
Right. Or even pick services where they're getting down their action, but it helps their bottom line when they're selling those picks as well to get on top of that action. I think RAS used to talk about that. Raz used to talk about that a lot. So yeah, that's totally reasonable.
All right.
And it's funny because sports betting in a way ties together with YouTube because it helps fund me being able to pay a video editor and not edit videos myself. So they kind of work hand in hand.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So you've gotten to the point of a video editor for yourself?
Yeah, if you've seen like probably like my last 6 to 8 videos of finally actually, because I used to spend like an entire weekend having to learn what Final Cut Pro was, which is like a Mac video editing software.
Oh, get me started on Final Cut Pro.
And
future sponsor of the show. Hold on.
And then I watched someone do it professionally, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get my weekends back now.
Oh, that's great. All right. So we've been doing the podcasting thing for like a year now.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of have aspired to do the YouTube thing. We almost kind of started trying to do that first, right?
We don't know what we're doing with video.
What's one tip you could give us to sort of get started in that space?
First off, just start recording it. Just get started.
Yeah.
You're going to kind of learn I wasn't the person that thought I had to make the perfect video before I uploaded it, but you just have to understand you're going to stink early on and you're going to get better as you go because you're just going to be in it. And especially it's perfect for you guys because you're recording this, it's out there, and you know those people that they like to listen to you, but some people would prefer to watch you and listen to you. Just like the Fantasy Footballers podcast, if you guys know them at all.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'd rather watch them than watch some show on Hulu. So I'll turn them on, and they're characters like you guys are.
Yeah.
And you kind of have the perfect dynamic, which is 3 of you. So
Yeah.
you kind of get started, but that's what I would just say is you have the camera, press record. Don't worry about editing too much. Just get the video out there. And then as you go, you'll start to pick up certain things. But that would be my one tip for you. Just get started.
Yeah. Awesome. Can I ask you about your Twitter handle?
Yeah. So funny enough. So
I thought.
Oh, you want to talk about YouTube
No, you
still?
go into that. No.
well, I'll give you a quick one just for a Twitter handle. So basically, it came from he just passed away a couple months ago. He was like in his early 80s. He was a guy I used to golf with for over a decade because I play a lot of golf. My undergraduate degree was in golf course management, and he was probably a 5 handicap. I don't know if you guys are golfers yourselves. So he was a very good player. And anytime that we were on the green and anything with inside 30 feet, he was just magical with his putter. And if the ball was tracking towards the hole, he would just yell out, "Yo mama." And don't know why. He's just an older guy. He's a character. So I kind of took that from him. And so that's where Yo Mama came from.
Okay, fantastic. All right, sorry.
Let's give you a quick story here real quick. RJ's dad is the best golfer we know. And he played our entire youth and into early adulthood with a set of clubs from Shopko. So he would get up to the tee and we'd all shoot. And then he'd go and he'd just drive it 50, 100 yards past us or whatever. And he would just yell out at us every time, "Shopko!" And he would just smoke
that's my freshman year of high school. I played on the golf team and I'm left-handed. So before my parents kind of financially dove in to buy me clubs, I was using wooden drivers and 3-woods, like an actual old school from a flea market wooden club.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's your handicap these days?
Living in Arizona, it's really expensive to play golf. Right now, the gin is between a 9 to a 10. It should be probably like a 7 or an 8, but yeah, in that 8 to 11 range. So I'm those guys that like every now and then I'll get it together and shoot like 75 and you're like, whoa. But then I'll go out there and if I'm not putting and chipping well, I'll shoot like 84. But yeah, it's kind of in that range always.
None of us are good enough to know our handicaps.
I've broken 100 a couple times, Billy.
That's solid.
No. I live in the 90s. I live in the 90s.
You live in the
90s is a great spot to be because, you can every now and then in a scramble just really like show some magic and everyone's like,
who's this guy?
What?
My lifelong goal has been to be a bogey golfer. And I was getting I was creeping up, right? Like I'd improve a few strokes each year. And then I had kids, Billy. And I'm never going to get there now.
It's over.
Well, you will when they hopefully
once
one
they're
of
gone.
them takes to golf. Yeah, later. But I mean, that's how I learned golf was just on a family vacation. I was like 12. My dad would play with his buddies, and I just sat in the cart and rode around.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Kurt, do you play yourself?
I used to play a lot, and then I just lost interest because I wasn't good enough. Like anything that I'm not good in, I just lose interest quickly.
And it's unlike bowling because you can't perfect the sport. You're struggling. It's basically an entire struggle fest because something's not going to work every time you play.
Yeah.
When you get frustrated, Kurt.
Throw
And on a golf course,
Oh my gosh. I'm
you were the
worst.
funniest person to watch get frustrated.
I break clubs, throw them. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You had put out a recent. Oh,
I was just going to say, I don't chip. I putt from the rough. I don't chip. I'm one
50
of those,
yards off the green.
50
and you're
yards
like,
out,
putting?
and I'm
Like,
putting.
what?
I'm one of those guys.
chipping is the one thing that actually dramatically improved my golf game at one point. Once I got that down, I went from over 100 to under 100.
You got to spend a little time with it, right?
Yeah, just like anything else. Yeah.
All right, we're going to get this back on track. Do I say that in every interview now?
Absolutely,
We're going to
you
get
do.
this back on track. All right, you had put out a recent video that we were fascinated about because we talk about this and we see this a lot on Twitter. First 5 inning run lines. Give us a breakdown. Why are you in love with them? Is this going to be your focus this season? Where are we at?
It will be, yeah, and stay tuned tomorrow because there's a video coming about NBA first quarter
neat.
total over unders.
Oh.
But essentially, the power. Well, I've always heard from sharp sports bettors that the sharps love to bet the first 5 innings, whether it's the spread or the run line. You take the bullpen out of it. You just focus on the starting pitchers, and then looking through all of my bets, which you kind of export that. Anyone that wants to be profitable in sports betting, I highly recommend. Doesn't have to be every week or every month, but maybe once every 3 to 6 months, you just export your bets, you filter, and you kind of take a look at some different markets. And I just happened to find that the first half run line was one that I really excelled at, and one that I brought back a decent return, an over 20% ROI. And so it was something to say, we really need to focus on this because I got my teeth knocked in baseball season last year, but this was one bright spot. So it wasn't so much that I thought of it. I was just perusing through all of my baseball bets from last year and getting ready for this season and hoping to find some nuggets. And that was one. And most likely, my first month or two of this baseball season, I'll bet it and lose money, and I'll be like, "What is this guy talking about?" But for now, as of recording, yeah, we're gonna go after those once the season starts.
I love that wager. I think it's a totally exploitable market, and also team total overs in first 5.
Oh, interesting.
If you look at that too, keep track of that this year. If you decide to go that route a little bit in the first 5,
you start to learn as you're graduating through the different grades of sports betting that not all sports books are sharp for certain markets.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little nugget that I've recently learned, and some of you might already know this, like for college basketball, and I'll try to keep this one condensed. Essentially, Pinnacle isn't as sharp as maybe Bookmaker or Bet Online for college basketball, particularly with totals. Now, in the grand scheme of things, college basketball is an inefficient market compared to the NFL, just simply because the books won't take as much money on plays. So like Bookmaker and Bet Online will take up to $10,000 per play. Pinnacle will only go between $1,000, $2,000, or $5,000. So because Bookmaker and Bet Online, 2 offshore books, will take more action, you want to use them as more of a guide because that's where maybe a little bit more sharp money is coming in. But it's not like the NFL where you can put down, like on the Super Bowl, $1 million or $3 million on a play. So it's tough because in the grand scheme of things, it's still an inefficient market. And that's why you'll bet a total at 145.5 and the final score is 179 points. And you're like, this wasn't even close. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Is that one of the things you work on in terms of understanding how you use an odds screener? Meaning, do you work to identify what the odds screener you're using, in this case Odds Jam, is really best at? Maybe there's some markets the model's going to hit on better than other markets. Are you working to try to identify those as you're using the tool?
Yeah, and the problem is, though, OddsJam will throw you curveballs where certain sports books, their IT department, maybe there's a data feed issue between the sports books feeding onto. So you might not see a certain sports book for like a week or two, and you're like, I wonder why that is. And it's not because there isn't plus EV plays out there. It's because the feed's terrible. But you start to kind of learn maybe what of the market makers between Pinnacle and Circa and Bet Online and Bookmaker, which ones are sharper for each sport. And so that's why I look at it as, like basketball season, whether it's college or NBA, you have a pretty good barometer, but baseball season is a completely different animal. So you need to start off conservative until you start to kind of figure things out. And unless you have a season or two under your belt, you're flying blind. And so you always want to take a little bit more of a conservative approach.
We're nervous, Billy. We're nervous for the start of baseball season. We've been talking about this since we started using the odds screener. NBA has felt like a cakewalk. NHL's not too bad. MLB has us scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the problem is it's like the only game in town.
Exactly.
For like 3 months.
For months.
So you can't pick anything else, Billy.
I know. You have your occasional tennis tournament, But otherwise, maybe some soccer play, WNBA, that'll be an interesting one. And I remember a few years ago, I'm like, I'm betting on the WNBA. Like, what am I doing? And now I've gotten way past that. I'm like, there's money to be made. Just get after it.
Absolutely.
I was betting on women's heats in professional surfing just the other day when the NBA was on break.
That's right. Professional surfing, Billy.
Women's professional surfing. It is fun. I do recommend
I
it, Billy.
believe it.
And we don't have a problem. Hey, listen, fellas, we don't have a problem. Okay. We're just trying to take a little advantages and get little edges.
Got to find an edge.
Wherever they exist.
Yeah.
Billy, when you were using the odd screener for baseball, were these money lines, run lines, first fives? Were you doing any player props, specifically pitcher props on the odd screener
definitely
as well?
pitcher props. I was. So for like strikeouts per 9. Now the interesting thing is that Pinnacle. So if you use, whether it's Odds Shopper or Odds Jam, if you're paying for a software, you need to understand what drives the plays on the plus EV page. And that's why it's more important to really understand how the actual software works compared to worrying about the plays themselves early on. Because a very popular play is like hits, runs, and RBIs for baseball, but Pinnacle doesn't set a line or at least they didn't last year for that market. So you need to do that research on your own, or trust, or just find on like the low holds page, or go to other tools that they have to find those plays to then see if there is an advantage. And then you're kind of using that same basis foundation, which is, well, everybody has it priced at this odds range, and this one book is just off in the distance alone. So we should just pick on that one.
Do you respect any of the U.S. legal books outside of maybe Circa?
In terms of just their sharpness?
Yeah.
Their
when you look, do you evaluate any of those books and say, well, if one of them's here, then I don't know.
So there is chatter that like the FanDuel was kind of sharp, but for the most part myself, no, I think they're all idiots. And
good at marketing.
I trust more of the offshore books a little bit more, but I do know certain Discord channels where guys will maybe leave because they get really hung up because one day they hear that Caesars Sportsbook is sharper than DraftKings, and then a couple other guys say, oh, well, DraftKings is sharper than FanDuel, and then you're like, well, you don't know if up is down or down is up.
Right.
So I just think of them as all idiots, and then Circa is the only one that I really go off of.
I was just about to ask you what your opinion was on the softest book for pitcher props, because that's where I'm going to be focusing my main attention this baseball season.
For pitcher props, I know that, it's usually FanDuel that has the opportunities, but I'm thinking of like a Unibet or a Bet Rivers or even a Bally Bet. Some of the smaller niche books that you might not have heard of, they're really dumb. Or like Fliff, like they're really poor. Now Fliff has gotten better, but there's like kind of like levels in terms of the recreational books where like DraftKings, Caesars, and FanDuel's kind of up at the top. And then these other smaller books, they're all just lagging behind.
Yeah. And like your perception on that probably can change, right? Based on the market where they all fit. But I'm going to save Fliff for baseball. I said I was going to save it for All-Star break, but I'm going to sign up for Fliff for baseball season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm out of really square books, Billy.
Yeah. He's
now, I throw that question back to you fellas. Same thing. Is there anything that you would say, have you seen a certain book that's been easier to pick off or one that you all have had, success with?
I feel like it depends on not only the sport, but the market. I kind of I haven't put pen to paper, but I almost rank the books differently by sport.
Yeah,
I guess in my head, right? My perception. And it changes week to week, of course, but yeah.
In general, we tend to view Caesars and FanDuel amongst the legals as probably the sharpest, with DraftKings trying to keep up. And then for us in Illinois, then we've got ESPN Bet and
Bet Rivers,
PointsBet,
BetMGM. Those are all lagging to us.
Yeah, those are the real squares.
Although for this NBA season, just like the past 2 months, Caesars has, I don't know what they're doing over there, but they've offered some great lines on NBA basketball player props just out of nowhere.
That's good.
So
they're always wonky lines like plus 138.
Plus
119. And
they take the most vigorous.
They can never go to the 5 and 10 though.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. All right. I don't know that you guys have heard of this, and I hadn't heard of this, but you broke it down in a video the other day. If you could just give us a quick rundown, because I think it's fascinating. I believe you called it a DFS 4-way correlated stack or play or something like that, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh man, you're taking me back to so this is kind of like the gold rush in California back in the 40s. My young kids out there, basically back in the day when your grandparents were old enough, there was a big gold rush in California. So yeah, so the 4-way slips. So essentially it's happened a lot with football and with hockey it happens. And it will happen with baseball as well. But with football, it was, hey, we're going to take the quarterback and his top 2 targets, normally both receivers. And then we're going to take the opposing team's top quarterback and receiver. And we're going to make one slip on underdog that's everyone's over. And then we're going to take another slip and we're going to make them all that's under. And then we're going to mix and match the next slip 3 and slip 4. So team 1 with quarterback and 2 wide receivers, they're over. The next 2 are under. And then we're going to reverse that on slip 4. And there isn't a guarantee that we're going to win. But this is why it's so important for anyone out there that I know math is boring and it's dumb and you don't want to have to learn it. But if you're going to gamble and bet on sports, you need to make sure you understand this, because the whole reason that 4-way slip strategy was profitable was because underdog was paying out people way more money than anybody else would on any other sports book if you ran that same strategy.
Yeah.
So here it is. I'm not shooting you. There basically was around week 7 or 8 of the NFL season that started to disappear.
Yeah.
And the books, Prize Picks and Underdog got caught on to this.
Yeah.
And now it's still available, but we have to get more creative. But in the summer and spring and early fall, it was a gold rush. And I caught the tail end of it barely, but I didn't have the cojones to really put like $500 to $1,000 per slip. And the wildest I got was $100 per slip. But I mean, you were doing this for every single NFL game, basically, if you wanted to. Every game, all the combinations.
Is this an arbitrage?
I mean, not technically, because you can lose.
You can lose it, so it's not a technical arbitrage.
But you're trying to cover all your angles, basically.
And yes, and it's a great example to anyone that wants to make money on the DFS sites, whether it's Prize Picks, Underdog, Dabble, whatever it is that basically if you played every game on the NFL slate that week and you ran like 2 slips, so one game in the Steelers Browns, all overs and then all unders, and you did that for every game, and you had, let's say, 20 slips, you just needed to hit on one of them to basically make your money back or turn a slight profit. Anything beyond that, you were making a really nice return.
Yeah.
And that's the understanding of when you're playing these DFS sites and you have this 5-leg parlay, 5-leg slip, you might only need to hit on like 3 out of 20 to really make a nice profit, but people can't handle the constant losing. And I get that, but that's where patience and discipline really come into factor there, because you just have to trust the math and the numbers, and which is kind of cliche, but it's true.
Yeah. I promo hawk only on the DFS sites. I think you guys do too, right? Like you're not really playing on Prize Picks and stuff.
Just like Taco Tuesday.
Yeah,
exactly.
Fridays.
And I understand correlation. I understand the concept, but I never heard anybody break it down like the 4 slip strategy like you had.
Yeah, well, I didn't even, and that best part was I didn't even think. I mean, someone else thought of it. I just,
of course,
rode the wave.
So was it just a flaw in and how they were correlating those markets? Is that was it a plug they needed to fix? You guys just found the leak.
Basically, yeah, they didn't understand that correlation had a much higher probability of a return than not, and what they were paying out was substantially more than what you could do on any other sports book.
Right.
Got it.
And so, the party went on for, I'd say, roughly 6 months, or all spring, summer, and early fall. And then around like week 12, you notice like Prize Picks stopped paying out like 25x, and then it kind of just kind of went away. So now we have to do like 4-pick slips. So like in hockey, it's always common where you'll take like the goalie for the Oilers, and he's going to be higher on saves, and then obviously the 3 shooters for the Devils are going to be high on their shots because they're firing the biscuit, and the goalie's got to make a lot of saves, or vice versa. That's another way you can do correlation off just a 4-pick slip on Prize Picks.
Yeah, got it.
But that edge is dried up at this point, you believe?
No, they're still playing it. No, it's still going on right now. I just haven't been as active with it. And then anything that's like right now, another new hot thing that I can't confirm or deny if it's actually working is time of ice. So anytime these DFS sites add a new category that you can wager on, usually, again, this all ties back to like everyone's a dummy in America for the legal sports book. So they haven't figured it out. It's a new market. You can take advantage of it. But eventually, over time, that will dry up.
When you explained this just now, thinking about MLB coming up, my first thought was bad pitcher, middle stack order, 3-4-5 or 2-3-4 on
Coors Field, over on his hits. Yep.
On hits, runs, RBIs for those three players. And just match them like that.
You're exactly right. And you also want to focus on, like you said, the middle of the order, because you have to think that those guys are going to at least get 4 cracks in at-bats a game compared to the bottom half of the order that might only see 3 at-bats. So, that's another popular one, whether it's Garrett Cole goes out there and he's going to get high on strikeouts, and then you're going to take the under on everyone's. Baseball has those same correlation if you like the matchup, and that's where you can kind of do your research. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's just you want to find plays that consistently have an edge and trust that the market is efficient, and then you will get paid out over the course of time. But nobody knows exactly how long term is.
Takes me back to the salary cap DFS days, stacking batteries. And
I'm glad we're past that.
yeah,
that's a great idea. I'm trying it this baseball
sure,
season.
why not? Yeah, I'm gonna try everything.
You love
this
this
baseball
stuff.
season.
You
Yeah.
love
I do.
that kind of action.
I do.
So that'll be great for you.
Do you like to find like a new market and kind of try to peel back the onion and kind of figure out how you can maybe manipulate it or work it to your advantage?
Yeah, I mean, for the past 2 baseball seasons, I've been joking with these guys. We call them juice reducers, but what I would do, and I did really, really well the last 2 baseball seasons. What I would do is I would find a really good pitcher prop, and then I would take just like some absurd line, like the over 5.5 runs in a Coors Field game, and pair it with the pitcher's strikeouts, not necessarily from that game, but just an over under from another game that was kind of had a high juice, but was a good line. And then so I would reduce the overall, line from minus 160 on a pitcher's over strikeouts and pair it with some ridiculous other line, and then get that play essentially down to like minus 105 or even plus 115. And I killed it baseball season the last 2 years doing that. I don't know if that's
particular. Was it like one book that you focused on, or was it just kind of it worked all across the board?
It worked all across the board from every book. I mean, what I would do is I would get really insane with it, and I would take these plays and I would put it into every book, and I would take the best line.
Yeah.
So some books would be like, plus 104. One book might be plus 108. Another book might be plus 120.
Especially if it's the same game that you have both legs in. So you got the correlation kind of baked different.
So what he's saying, Billy, is that he would make 30 plays a day where he would have to go onto 6 different books and build a 2-leg parlay for each of those bets before figuring out which book he was going to bet it on.
Speaking of having
I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's like, hey, you know what? Even if I'm making money, I'm not even going to pay attention to how many hours I put into this because I absolutely love it.
Well, I had a desk job, so I would go into work and I would just pull up the lines at 7 a.m. and just start going. And as long as I got my, what I needed to get done, I would just sit there and just research 8 hours, my whole shift.
This baseball season is going to be fun. We're going to have so many theories.
Exactly.
All right, Billy.
Exactly.
One more question before we let you go here. NCAA tournament. You got anything on the line? You looking forward to anything? What are you thinking here?
I'm looking for the first 2 rounds. So the Thursday, Friday is the greatest day, in my opinion, in sports. I think it's like Christmas. I don't have any one particular strategy that I look forward to. It's almost sad because once the playoffs hit, whether it's NBA or March Madness time, it's kind of like, oh man, we just got baseball. So because we're really kind of getting into the end of the gambling season in terms of like the juiciness. So no, nothing in particular, really. I will say to some people, if you start to see early lines, that are out there for the March Madness, maybe, next week or, well, not next week. Once basically the value is going to be as soon as Selection Sunday is, they announce the teams don't wait until later on in the week to get those bets in, because normally, just like the NFL, when lines open up in the beginning, that's where you're going to be able to find the most value. So if you have some time, set aside and take a look at it, because normally that's where you can find some good stuff.
Got it.
Do you boys have any strategies, or the 5-12? Are you always betting on a 12? Or
we are running a strategy this year. We've got a theory that we're working against. It's college coaches who cannot win at all. And so what I did was I went in and I looked at all the top teams with odds to win it all, went and looked through all the coaches' history, then pulled up all their tournament record performances, then took a look at some of the criteria that it takes to win it all, and kind of determined some of those coaches who simply cannot win it all at this point in their career. So just so you know, you don't have to bet on Purdue. You can cross them off. You don't have to bet on Marquette. You can cross them off. You don't have to bet on, Tennessee. You can cross them off. So, just the vast majority of the 1 and 2 seeds in this year's tournament, I managed to eliminate. We do like Connecticut. We do like teams like Alabama, Auburn, Kansas. Kansas is another one we like. Basically, the theory is if you have had so many chances in the NCAA tournament and you've underperformed for this long, why would anyone bet on you? In a different vein, it's being from Pittsburgh and watching the Browns and Bengals my whole life. Bengals had me nervous a few years ago in the Super Bowl, but then they lost. I was like, yep, still the same Bengals. Just, we know it's going to happen. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Especially after last year with what happened with Fairleigh Dickinson. Never forget. The theory that ties it all together, and I'm sorry, I'm totally nerding out because someone actually wanted to ask my opinion.
So you had to ask, Billy.
But listen, this isn't because you may be the Fighting Illini fans and Big Ten.
I am worried.
Can't stand Purdue, right?
No, the theory is that there's 6 consecutive games you have to win over a 3-week period.
Yeah. And
that there needs to be a certain mental makeup to a team in order to achieve that, and that it has to be led by the coach. And so the thought process is, if the coach has proven it to me for a long enough time period that they're incapable of this, I'm crossing them off the list.
Right.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's anything in life, you want to make it easier. So you've already eliminated X amount of teams now, and you've whittled it down to a small pool.
But he's also put under other variables in there, right? So like you have to be a top certain amount of defense. You have to have
defense.
defense.
You got to have Ken Palm under like offensive and defensive efficiency in the top 50 or something like that.
I think he broke down the research and figured out all the past champions and what they were ranked in offense and defense. And so that's how you kind of rule teams out as well. Right?
What's your criteria year? Is it like 2000 or 98, or what's your year that you stopped?
Well, we use Bart Torvik, because that's the free service that's offered online. So they go back to 2000. And over the last 23 years, what was it? There's been one coach with less than 5 years of experience, or less than 5 trips to the tournament, who's won a title. So we crossed out everyone with very minimal experience. But yeah, there were several factors. And then we also factored in team stats and all the usual stuff that goes into doing it.
And so we've been using this in like firing futures all year.
We have 10 bets now, Billy.
I love
10 teams, and we bet on some of them multiple times.
Illinois and New Mexico were an emotional hedge.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Every once in a while.
Probably that's in my wildest March Madness take, which this is a Barstool thing. I think that Bill Self's been wearing a toupee for probably like 20 plus years. I think his hairstyle has never changed. The color's always the same. It's always the same haircut, the length. It's always. So I think it's a toupee.
My wife's least favorite person in sports is Bill Self, because he left Illinois. And my least favorite person is Bruce Weber, because he ruined Illinois. I don't get mad at Bill Self. He did what he was supposed to do.
I can't wait.
All right, Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We had an absolute blast with you. You can find Billy on YouTube at BillyC24. You can also catch him on Twitter at YoMama2431. Anything else you want to give a shout out to, Billy, before we let you go?
No, but fellas, I really appreciate you having me on. It was an absolute blast. I appreciate you, just having a wonderful conversation, and may all your bets win for March Madness coming up and baseball season.
And good juju to your bets as well, sir. Thank you so much. Hopefully we get to talk again sometime.
All right, guys, take care.
Thanks, Billy.
Bye, Billy.